We begin this hour in Abuja, where it seems all is set for the ruling All Progressives Congress to conduct its planned national convention. A high court in the Federal Capital Territory vacated an order stopping the national convention of the party billed for March 26. And while delivering the judgment, Justice Bello Kawu argued that a political party cannot be sued by its member. The judge relied on a recent Supreme Court judgment, Aguma versus APC, to conclude his ruling. The ruling followed the twist in the leadership of the ruling party as it plans for the convention. In recent days, there were tussles over the leadership of the party. Sani Bello of Niger State had taken over as the acting national chairman of the APC in the absence of the caretaker extraordinary convention planning committee, Governor Gbajabiamila of Yobe State. The development, which came as a surprise to many observers, was however kept under control as Governor Buni said all actions taken by his Niger counterpart remained valid. He reiterated that he had duly transmitted power to Governor Bello, who acted on his authority while he was away. Meanwhile, the Attorney General of the Federation, Abubakar Malami, has been ordered by the Federal High Court sitting in Umuahia, Abia State, to immediately delete Section 84, subsection 12 of the amended Electoral Act. Justice Evelyn Ayadike earlier today held that the section was unconstitutional, invalid, illegal, null, void, and of no effect whatsoever, and cannot stand because it's in violation of the clear provisions of the Constitution. The section says no political appointee at any level shall be voting delegate or be voted for at the convention or congress of any political party for the purpose of the nomination of candidates for any election. In the suit, Justice Ayadike further stated that the 1999 Constitution already stipulates that appointees of government seeking to contest elections were only to resign at least 30 days to the date of the election, and that any other law that mandated such appointees to resign or leave office at any time before that was unconstitutional, null and void to the extent of its inconsistency with the clear provisions of the Constitution. In the meantime, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission says former Governor of Anambra State, Willie Obiano, has not been released from its custody but transferred to Abuja. The anti-graft agency was reacting to earlier reports that the former governor had been released. Mr. Obiano, who's been on the commission's watch list for months, was taken into custody by the FCC at about 8:30 p.m. on Thursday at the Murtala Mohammed International Airport in Lagos, shortly after the inauguration of his predecessor, Charles Chukwuma Soludo. Our correspondent Ivy Kanu visited EFCC office here in Lagos.
March the 17th will remain indelible in the mind of the ex-governor of Anambra State, Willie Obiano, as he did not only hand over to his successor, Professor Charles Soludo, but also a day that he was picked up at the Murtala Mohammed International Airport here in Lagos on his way out of the country to Houston in the United States. He's been governor for 8 years, and that has made it impossible for the commission to arrest him because he had immunity. Now that he has left the office, on that same day he was picked up, we gather that he's been on the watch list of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission for over 4 months while in office before his tenure ended. We also know that last year in November, the commission had written to the Nigerian immigration informing them to put the ex-governor on their watch list and get across to them anytime he's trying to leave the country. So that was actually what happened on Thursday. It was a collaboration between the Nigerian Immigration Service and the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. Earlier, there were reports that he had been released, but we can tell you from what we gathered that he's been moved to the Commission's headquarters in Abuja.
And now to Delta State, where the police command has confirmed the arrest of a man suspected to be involved in the killing of an army lieutenant in Efuru. The police also have in their custody some suspected cultists who were alleged to have killed 4 rival court members in Jesse, Ethiopia West local government area. Ikenam Echi reports.
On the 11th of this month, an army lieutenant was shot dead in his private car in Enere community, Uwe Council area of Delta State, and the police immediately launched a manhunt for his killers. Today, the police commissioner in the state, during a parade of suspects, which include suspected cultists, kidnappers, armed robbers, speaks more about the death of the young military officer.
We had a bad incident where a lieutenant, the ops officer of Nigerian Army based in Warri, was shot at the wee hours of that night. My men, led by the DPO himself, were on patrol along Urobo College Road. They saw a young man that was, dead, lying lifeless in the pool of his own blood, and the body was picked to the station. His pocket was searched, an ID card was recovered. Then a call was put across to our sister agency, and in fact they confirmed that he is one Lieutenant M.M. Musa. One suspect has been arrested, and the command is making efforts with a view to ensuring that his allies, those who partake in that dastardly act, are also arrested and dealt with.
On parade here are these 43 young men arrested for their alleged involvement in cultism, which is prevalent in some parts of the state, with the recent cult-related killings in Jesse, Ethiopia West Council area.
I want to inform you today that we have arrested 3 of the notorious members of Arobaga group that were indeed responsible for this killing, and they are all here. Cultists, like you are aware, have been disturbing the command in recent times, not just at Ogara and Jesse axis alone.
This young man is in custody for unsuccessful suicide attempt. The police also recovered some arms and ammunition. The rise in court-related violence in the state can be reflected in the number of suspects arrested for cultism, as the State Police Command wants school authority and the state government to do more to ensure cultism is reduced to the barest minimum. Ikenna Amechi, TVC News, Asaba.
More than 1,000 less privileged persons in Maiduguri have benefited from food, seedlings and cash assistance courtesy the Wali of Borno. The humanitarian assistance is aimed at giving them a sense of belonging. TVC News' Jessica Fida reports.
6 different locations within Maiduguri and Jere Local Council benefited from the humanitarian gesture, including the State Specialist Hospital, Kamburi Kura, Kamburi Ghana, and Fatima Ali Sharif Orphanage. At the State Specialist Hospital, patients at the pediatric ward benefited from cash assistance to enable them buy drugs and other medical items.
We need to identify ourselves as colleagues in humanity, our human colleagues before any other thing. We should always try and reach out to the downtrodden, those truly in need, those that cannot reach out. I often say, even if you don't have much, but if you have the privilege to reach out to someone and even ask, it's even a privilege. So we'll keep doing that for as long as we live and whatever means we have.
Medical director of the hospital and beneficiaries lauded the monarch for the gesture.
We are happy to have people like you in our midst that have been doing this. Is not the first time and this is not the second. So we are very happy for you, sister. Allah reward.
She says, I never expected this today. My son has been sick for 5 days now. This support would go a long way in settling our medical bills. I am very grateful by this gesture. I'm delighted. I pray God to bless Wali for doing this. Food and cash assistance was also distributed to the blind in Maiduguri, as well as to the Fatima Ali Sharif Orphanage. The Wali of Borno also presented 500 different types of seedlings to be used by the less privileged as economic trees. The management of the State Specialist Hospital appreciate this gesture and are calling on other well-to-do individuals to come to the aid of the less privileged in the society so as to put a smile on their faces. Jesse Tafida, TVC News, Maiduguri.
Back in Lagos, the state government has now published the Social Protection Policy Handbook that focuses on poverty, literacy, inequality, amongst others. This is following the approval of the state social protection policy by the State Executive Council in August 2020. Iniola Pupola reports.
Nigeria's poverty rate stands at 40.1%, while the country's unemployment rate at 33.3%. Also, over 76 million Nigerian adults are illiterate. With the increasing population in Nigeria, these figures are expected to double. But the Lagos state government has adopted the social protection policy through the federal government to assist in addressing the core social and economic issues.
The policy aims to create an all-inclusive and comprehensive method of addressing socio-economic vulnerabilities to poverty and deprivation at all levels in our society.
In partnership with the United Nations International Children Emergency Fund, the policies contained in this handbook aims at promoting inclusive growth, equality, security, as well as ensuring a life of dignity for residents of Lagos.
The Lagos State, in addition to what it's currently doing, is going to provide free school meals to pupils in public primary school. There's a provision for all children and adults living with disabilities.
A fully developed and well-generated single social register will afford that man on the street, that man in the corner of his own community, way out there in Ibejuleki or in Badagry, will also be able to have access to government intervention.
Social protection is seen as a fundamental human right which every individual should obtain.
If all the provisions of this program are implemented, there are chances of shaping all the social vices into positive things in the country.
With the hashtag Ambition 2030 of the 2015 Sustainable Development Goals, this intervention from the state government will allow a steady progress in ensuring the rights of all citizens are well secured and protected. Inioluwa Popola, TVC News, Lagos.
The federal government has warned licensed lottery companies in the country to pay their outstanding liabilities or risk revocation of their licenses. The Minister of Special Duties and Inter-Governmental Affairs, Senator George Akume, spoke at the official launch of the Back to School Jumpstart project in Lagos. The project, with theme No School Left Behind in Surulere, was organized by the Office of the Speaker of the House of Representatives in collaboration with the National Lottery Trust Fund. We have details in this report.
Presently, statistics put the number of deaths from the COVID-19 pandemic to more than 6 million. But statistics are scarce regarding how many children have dropped out of school due to the pandemic, especially in developing economies like Nigeria. Hence, the launch of the Jumpstart project in Lagos by the National Lottery Fund in collaboration with the Office of the Speaker, House of Representatives. The project aims to digitize teaching and learning process as well as inculcate the culture of basic hygiene in schools across the country.
They enable government to equip public schools with e-learning facilities that are to be launched in due course. To learn that over 40 junior and secondary schools in Surulere Federal Constituency will benefit from this intervention in the first phase of the program is heartwarming and commendable.
Experts believe the program will help to improve capacity of schools in the area of good hygienic practice through provision of basic sanitary materials and start teaching and learning aids.
Decision by the federal government to establish the National Lottery Trust Fund is indicative of a government that recognizes the importance of lottery and gaming as a vehicle for enhancing the social well-being of its citizenry through investments in its various lottery good cause intervention projects.
Urge all licensees and permit holders to, without further delay, pay off their outstanding liabilities or risk revocation of their licenses and permits.
For the Speaker, House of Representatives represented at this occasion, government is committed to building better and stronger education system which will be resistant to eventualities of the new normal.
Is designed to mitigate the disadvantage caused by the lack of digital infrastructure in our public schools, as well as ensure that there are no breaks in teaching and learning in the event of future pandemics.
The agency also inaugurated vital medical equipment donated to Gbajabiamila Hospital, Mother and Care General Hospital, to consolidate on other equipment earlier donated to Onikon Healthcare Center a few months ago. Ademola Lawrence, TVC News, Lagos.
The International Women's Day was officially marked on 8th March, but we're still celebrating the achievements of women and their contributions to our nation's growth and development. We're also taking a closer look at the gains achieved by women and girls while assessing actions toward gender equality. According to this year's theme, Break the Bias, the question is, what are the steps that now must be taken to move away from a world of bias and discrimination towards a world that is diverse, equitable and inclusive for women? Let's talk now to a gender human rights advocate, Dr. Bilkisu Magoro, who joins us live from New York. She's at the ongoing 66th session of the UN Commission on the Status of Women. Let's begin with the dynamics of conversation where you are, particularly as it relates to the theme, which seems to marry the issue of gender inequality with the global climate crisis. Dr. Magoro, if you can hear me, I'm asking that you walk us through the conversation where you are as it relates to the theme linking gender inequality with the climate crisis.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Please go ahead.
Okay, so basically, you know, the thing for this year for the Commission on the Status of Women has basically been the effect of climate change on women and girls, and how it affects them in most places all over the world, and how we can use that to actually improve the participation and placement of women. So that's what we've been working on, and discussion, and the table has been working on regards at the Commission on Status of Women. We know with International Women's Day, it's been something that it's been placed out that the theme was, breaking all biases against women, and women and other genders towards achieving, their equality. We know that, this issues of biases is what causes a lot of, with that, of course, that's what deters and creates a lot of inequality in the gender issues with girls and women.
Absolutely. The concept is such that if you invest more in women and girls, they become leaders and change makers, and then they can come up with innovative climate change solutions. But let's bring the conversation back home in Nigeria. How do you bridge the gap between the kind of leadership positions available for women, and how do they get the voice to be able to make their own impact? For instance, women have been picketing the National Assembly for days now. I believe you're following the issue that has to do with the gender bills that didn't make it through at the National Assembly.
Well, a lot of these issues, I think, I believe is that back at home, we have to have an understanding what really we mean by, the gender equality with women. We have to actually get ourselves a lot of key pushes that will be in support, because it's been mostly women have been advocating for this. And if we go through the National Assembly and what happened recently, we realize that, it really didn't go through, none of the bills actually went through. And majority of the people in the National Assembly we know a male. So I think we need to be able to advocate more to the males to actually understand what we mean by, the gender equalities, where we want, every footing, everybody would have equal space to actually leverage on and be able to be part of the contribution in the development of Nigeria as it's meant to be. It doesn't have to be only, politically. We're talking about education. We're talking about access to farming, to food, inheritance, and the rest of them. So that's where we're all talking about that. It's not really just one bill that we're talking about that, it's, just, taking up positions, but we're talking about having, equality spread around amongst everybody in Nigeria, be you male or female, been able to, express your rights, constitutional right as a citizen. It doesn't really matter if you're male or female, but for you to have the access to these equalities are out there for everyone.
Absolutely. 2022 is the year where every nation and every industry is trying to shake off the impact of COVID-19 pandemic. And we're told that women and girls seem to have carried more of the burden. What are the prevailing thoughts as it relates to sustainability plans for women and girls post-COVID? Well, by the way, COVID-19, we are told, is still very much around.
Well, with regards to that, there's been lots of roundtable meetings, especially within the AU and ECOWAS, of the ministers of the different African. I'm talking about more of the African nations, and that includes Nigeria and all of the countries within the African nations, where the impact of the COVID has been devastating. I'll focus more in that area because that's mostly my area of interest, Africa and Nigeria, just as it is. The impact has been great, and has been a large. We really cannot really express how much damage it's done. A lot have been put out, but a lot of decisions and plans have been put into place how we can overcome this setbacks, especially for women. We know in most African countries, the women are farmers, and due to the COVID and the climate change, this is actually cost a lot with the families. The families haven't been able to do very much for themselves. So of course, lots of issues of marriages, divorces, family problems, lots of it. So we need to get back to the drawing board and actually go to the grassroots, especially with the young girls, and encourage all the family and make sure that they're being encouraged, both the girls and the women itself, as it is post-COVID. The COVID session has actually created a lot of gap within the chain of production worldwide and distribution worldwide. So it's an ongoing thing, and we're hoping that by the end of all the sessions, there will be a good solution that would help start up a strategy for both Africa and Nigeria as it is.
Gender and human rights advocate Dr. Bekesomagoro, thank you for talking to us tonight.
Thank you very much.
Some northern youths have predicted that the All Progressives Congress will emerge stronger from the current leadership crisis. They spoke in Port Harcourt while reacting to the controversies trailing the build-up to the National Convention scheduled for the 26th of March 2022. Senior reporter Uche Okoro has more.
The jostle for leadership positions in the All Progressives Congress at the national level has become a source of concern for some party faithful. Particularly, the dispute over the office of the national chairman is again raising concerns that the APC may be weakening its chances at the polls in 2023. Many Nigerians are also waiting to see the impacts that President Muhammadu Buhari's intervention would have on the situation. But for the South-South and Southeast Arewa Youth Group, there is no cause for alarm. The successful conduct of the APC National Convention would restore normalcy to the party.
And the issue of this crisis lingering till 2023, I don't see it lingering till 2023. The crisis will naturally die immediately after the convention. The heat of the crisis and everything is due to this convention. Every bloc is trying to make sure they bring out the national chairman from their own bloc. But we strongly believe by 26 to 27 of this month, after the convention, this internal crisis will die naturally.
These youths of northern extraction are optimistic that Senator Umar Tanko Al-Makura would emerge as the new national chairman of the All Progressives Congress. The group talked about the former governor's experience and credibility, two qualities that they insist are necessary for leading the APC. The history of the party, they say, supports their position.
Among the three major political parties that form the APC, only the CPC are yet to produce a national chairman. We strongly believe now is the time for a national chairman. We strongly believe now is the time for a national chairman from CPC, and the most suitable and formidable person is Senator Umar Tanko Al-Makura.
The South and Southeast Arawa Youth Group also rejected the idea of a consensus candidate for the position of national chairman, saying only an open contest would produce the best. Uche Okoro, TVC News, Port Harcourt.
Let's talk health now. A new report that proposes at least 83 million poor Nigerians should be provided with health insurance coverage has been launched. The Lancet Nigeria Commission report has established an indisputable link between health investment and socio-economic development. Kebi Balogun has details and will return with the business news afterwards.
The world is gradually returning to normalcy despite numerous challenges thrown up by the COVID-19 pandemic to healthcare and many sectors of the economy. Various measures are being put in place to fully bounce the healthcare system back to not only being functional, but also to improve health security. One of such measures is the launch of the Lancet Nigeria Commission report, which calls for investing in health and the future of the nation.
The report proposes a new social contract centered on health to address Nigeria's need to define her relationship, or the relationship between the citizens and the state.
As we emerge from the pandemic and move on to recovery, we are very much aware of these challenges. Our growing population requires increased investment in health to achieve the desired goals of a healthy population,
which in summary requires that government must see health as a social contract and strategic investment in order to ensure universal health coverage, eliminate catastrophic out-of-pocket expenditure, and ensure the mainstreaming of health into all policies.
The report seeks to ensure that there's an improvement in Nigeria's health outcomes through innovation and policy reforms. Nigeria's Vice President agrees that the report will improve Nigeria's health security outcomes, and the government will carefully consider recommendations not implemented yet.
Of course, there's no way by which we can say that we've done enough or nearly enough. The challenges are there for us all to see. And I think the report underscores those challenges and, of course, puts all of the responsibility where it ought to lie. But we welcome innovation and fresh thinking to further improve Nigeria's health outcomes.
The report presents analysis and evidence to support a positive and realistic health future for all Nigerians. Investment in healthcare will not only improve the health of all Nigerians, but it also has the potential of increasing the nation's GDP. Kemi Balogun, TVC News, Abuja.
President of the Nigerian Council of Registered Insurance Brokers, Mr. Rotimi Edu, says the council will continue to strengthen ties with relevant agencies and institutions to deepen insurance penetration across the country, which will in turn improve its contribution to the country's GDP. Mr. Edu made this known at the unveiling of the council's mascot and logo in Lagos. We have details in this report.
The National Bureau of Statistics, insurance penetration to Nigeria's gross domestic product remains at 0.5%. Similarly, according to the Nigeria Insurance Association, out of about 12 million vehicles registered, only 2.5 million have genuine insurance cover. This gathering of core professionals, practitioners and insurance brokers including the regulator of the industries, focused on strengthening and repositioning insurance broking as a critical element of the nation's ecosystem. For 60 years, the Nigerian Council of Registered Insurance Brokers has continued to build capacity while promoting professionalism across board.
The Nigerian Council of Registered Insurance Brokers has continued to deliver its promises to its member, and we can see that in the growth that we are experiencing in the insurance industry. We are taking a new leaf to start cooperation in the maximum level, such that that cooperation will take us to the level of success. It will take the industry to the level of, being where it should be.
NCRIB and its members have continued to be the beautiful bride. So having a beautiful bride at 60 is quite a landmark achievement. And if you look at over the years, since 1962, when they started with the organization of that sector, of the intermediary in the insurance sector, it has never been the same again.
The doyen of the insurance profession is also here, and he had the honor of unveiling the mascot and logo of the council. He gave a brief history of the success of the council in the past 60 years, whilst agreeing with other respondents that proper regulatory framework, improved oversight will help deepen insurance penetration across the country.
It was a great idea then, but honestly it has exceeded all my expectations. He had always been the rallying point for insurance practitioners, and I'm sure that his soul is resting in perfect peace. He'll be looking down on us, and posterity too will thank him for bringing this great idea. And we will thank all his successors who have over the years been nurturing the NCRIB.
The Nigerian Council of Registered Insurance Brokers came into existence in 1962, saddled with the responsibility of providing a platform for members to maximize their potential using relevant trainings, information technology, and synergies to attain its objectives.
Moving on, the Association of Chartered Certified Accountants, ACCA, has called for more involvement of women in Nigeria's economic development in order to achieve the Sustainable Development Goal 5, geared towards achieving gender equality. Blessed Omonose has details.
Equality has over the years remained an issue in the sub-Saharan African region, causing a limitation to the significant contribution of women to the economic development of the region. In Nigeria, the share of female in the total employment figure has marginally increased over the past decades, as the participation of females in the services-oriented sectors have contributed major improvement, leading to a remarkable contribution to the country's economic performance.
When we look at economic performance,
gender equality has continued to lead conversations at different women's fora. This gathering, put together by the Association of Chartered Certified Accountants, ACCA, is another milestone towards breaking the bias.
For diversity to work its magic, therefore, there must be inclusion. Without inclusion, the creative spark, I submit, is quenched. The importance, therefore, of closing the gender economic gap, and I would like to say that the gender gap itself is probably the largest challenge of inclusion that the world faces today.
I believe there's considerable more that women in Nigeria can contribute to economic growth, but we just need to create the platform and the enabling environment for them to be able to do that.
Speaking further on the theme of the conference, these participants bear the minds on the importance of engaging more women in the quest for growth and development, just as the nation prepares for the 2023 election.
We need to open up spaces for women. We need to get women elected to ensure that we can drive policies that focus on socioeconomic development and ensure that all of society are included in key functions of the economy.
I think we have statistics that show that from 2016, that when excluding women means that we're losing about $95 billion, in terms of potential. So it's very clear to all of us that we should include every member of the society, especially women, to ensure we achieve our full potential.
The take-home at the end of the dialogue includes how accountants, with emphasis on women, can improve their skills to explore opportunities associated with bridging the gender gap in economic participation. Blessed Omonose, TVC News, Lagos.
Telecommunications service providers under the aegis of Association of Licensed Telecom Operators of Nigeria have announced that the tariff review for telco services may happen if the rise in the price of diesel is sustained. Chairman of the association, Mr. Gbajabiamila, made this known in a statement where he explained that the sector has already been impacted by the current hike in diesel prices and scarcity of the products, making the operating environment for telcos tougher. Mr. Gbajabiamila also assures that the operators will continue to ensure that there are no service disruptions in the nation, but urge government to urgently intervene to ease the high cost of running business in the country. At this precarious time, the price of diesel has tilted towards 850 naira per litre and is continuing to increase daily. Meanwhile, share prices at the Nigerian exchange came down as 4 days losses hit hard on equities values. Well, if Yongekop will bring us that report subsequently. Well, moving on. All right, we have that report now. If Yongekop report from the market.
Securities trading at the stock market closed the week negative following declining prices in trade sectors. Weak prices came on the back of losses incurred by some mid-cap firms. Apart from the banks, which have been showing scorecards to the market in relation to 2021 financial year, other key sectors stayed with weak and unattractive transactions. Huge trade losses came to oil and gas marketer MRS, as it was down by nearly 10%. Ikeja Hotels, Wapik Insurance, Mutual Benefit Assurance, and Access Bank didn't fare better in their weekend deals. Manufacturing group of PZ made high level of gain calculated above 9%, while Royal Exchange Assurance, Niger Insurance, and ICO Insurance ended business with average price gains. The volume of shares traded hit nearly 600 million units, just as the trade value moved close to 4 billion naira. Efyong Eko, TVC News, Lagos.
Well, stock prices took a breather today after several days of sizable gains, while commodities were set on edge by the lack of progress in Russia and Ukraine peace negotiations. Oil rose sharply on the back of $100 overnight, and Brent crude futures were up another 2% to $108.73 in early trade. Commodity exporters' currency rose with it as S&P futures fell 0.6% in Asia. MSCI's broadest index of Asian Pacific shares outside Japan is 0.6% in early trade, but we're headed for a 3% weekly gain. Japan's Nikkei rose 0.2%. Wall Street indexes rose overnight to close out their biggest 3 sessions percentage gain since November 2020. The S&P 500 and Dow Jones each rose 1.2% and the Nasdaq 1.3%. China's market today eased into the end of one of the wildest weeks in decades. Hong Kong Hang Seng followed its worst session in more than 6 years, with its biggest 2-day rally since 1998, after China's top financial policy maker promised policy easing and gentler approach to market-sensitive reforms in future. Investors now await actions to follow his words, and today the Hang Seng opened 1% lower, while the mainland blue chip CSI was down 0.5%. Oil prices in the international market extended their rally today at the end of a third volatile week of trade after slim progress in peace talks between Russia and Ukraine raised the specter of tighter sanctions and the prolonged disruptions to oil supply. Now, U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude hit 2.95%, with price surge to trade at $106 per barrel. Brent sells at $109.10. registering an upward price margin of 2.26%. Bonny Light's performance is still trading in the red territory with a price decline of 1.49%, selling at $97.45 per barrel. For the OPEC basket, crude dealers offer $104.10 per barrel with an uptick of 1.17%.
Start sports news at 7 with the Nuga Games, where host the University of Lagos have started laying the athletics track as the Nigeria University Games Nuga begins. TVC Sports correspondent Solomon Ajizioku spoke with the track experts at the Unilag Sports Complex.
The last time the University of Lagos hosted the Nuga Games was in 1998. Back then, the track was ready a whole 9 months before the games. But the pitch was the last to be ready for the competition.
You know, at that time we didn't have a swimming pool, so as an addition we have a standard Swiss timing swimming pool. So there has been a lot of improvement from the 98 Nuga to date.
We're not always in a hurry to do things, though we would have loved to do it earlier, but you know, the way things are, we take things the way it comes.
The Unilag Nuga Games appears to have faced the challenge of funding as the largest contingent ever of student athletes converge on Lagos.
Availability of funds would be like a reference point here. The previous time there was adequate fund budgeted for the event, but in this case there's no fund for this, you know, major, this special event.
24 years after, Unilag is back hosting the games, and this time the pitch has long been ready, but the track is yet to be laid for the athletics event, even on the first day of the games. With athletes gearing up for action on day one, the athletics track experts arrive to begin work. They are sure that the quality of the track to be laid in Unilag would have a durable lifespan of up to 15 years.
If all the material is here, we should be able to lay this within 5 days. Your finished coat may not be here on time, but your subcoat, your black coat, and everything will be done within 5 days. When we get the top coat on it and the red coat on it and it marked, you should have absolutely no problem in any way within 10 to 15 years.
The more than 10,000 athletes and officials from almost 100 universities can now begin the games while they await the laying of the track. Solomon Ajiziogu, TVC News, Lagos.
The UEFA Champions League quarter-final draw has been concluded, and reigning European and World Club champions Chelsea will face 13th-time European champions and Spanish giants Real Madrid. English champions Manchester City will play Spanish side Atletico Madrid, while another English club, Liverpool, take on Portuguese team Benfica, and German Bundesliga side Bayern Munich will take on third Spanish side in the competition, Villarreal. In the semi-final, the winner of the Chelsea versus Real Madrid tie will face Atletico Madrid or Manchester City, while Benfica or Liverpool will play either Villarreal or Bayern Munich. The two quarterfinals take place on the 5th to the 6th of April and the 12th to the 13th of April. But while West Ham United have been drawn against Lyon in the Europa League quarterfinals, while Rangers will take on Braga and Barcelona face German outfit Frankfurt. The remaining last 8 clash will see an enticing matchup between the Bundesliga side RB Leipzig and Syria outfit Atalanta. West Ham United could meet Barcelona in the mouth-watering semi-final should a pair prevail in their respective quarterfinals, while a victory for Rangers will see them come up against either Leipzig of Germany or Italian side Atalanta Football Club.